Honduras is a developing nation. 42% of Honduras live on less than $2 a day. You have extremely wealthy, you have a very small middle class, and you have a vast number of poor. San Pedro Sula in particular is the manufacturing part of the country. Produce, bananas, palm oil. Most of the produce of the country comes from here.
San Pedro Sula is known to be the #1 murder capital per capita in the world.
Prostitution is legal here, transsexual prostitution, and then there's the children who are being given away, kidnapped, being taken, used into the sex trade. You have very wealthy landowners who own the majority of the land here. And then you have the middle class who are working for others. And then there's the lower class, and these people are working poor, barely get by. Then you have a whole other class of folks. We call them here Bordos. These are squatter villages, people who don't own the land. They come in, they squat on property, build whatever they can. It could be tin, cardboard, wood, generally dirt floors. And these are the people who are the real poor here. Lots of children, very few fathers around, and this is the picture of Honduras right now. If you walk into the Bordeaux area, you'll find it's dark.
There's a electricity line that runs along the river, but it's not for them, but they take electricity from that by throwing a wire over the electrical lines. They live on the dirt floor, tin roof, just basically a shack on the side of the river, on the riverbanks.
Jessica's the mother of these 4 children, okay? Christian, Andrea, Diana, and Christopher. Okay, so she's lived here for 12 years in this house. Tiene cuatro hijos. She has 4 children, 8, 5, or almost 6 and 4, and a baby. Multiple people sleeping in beds, 10 people in a 2-room home, living next to the river where next time it rains really hard, they know it's going to flood. 2 years in a row, the rivers come up and entered into the house, flooded their house. Sometimes I've seen them with old chest freezer opened up, and they collect rainwater, and that's their source of water. Bañarse aquí, y su cocina, lava los platos. So she bathes here. This is where she washes her plates. The river can be a source of water as well. Very polluted, very bad. Often you'll find kids down drinking out of, playing in.
The poor live on less than $2 a day. These guys live on less than $1 a day because they have no means to get any money.
Their vehicle is a horse-drawn wagon. They fill their wagon with vegetables, whatever they can find. They collect garbage. They recycle plastic. This is how they survive.
Some of the families, when they reach a certain point, they can't take care of these children. And so the children, they'll just give them up. The situation even with the orphans, many of them don't get an education either, because being in the orphanage, the people that run the orphanage, whether it's the government or a private organization, they can't afford to send them to school either. And so you still have the same cycle of poverty that is basically locked into the culture here.
There's a mentality in the systemic poor. It's my lot is cast. I'm stuck here. All the limitations, early pregnancy, violence, unemployment, sickness, I can't change. My parents were like this. My grandparents were like this. I'm like this. My children are like this.
The lack of education, the lack of clean water, the lack of nutritious food keeps these people in a systemic level of poverty that they have no hope to get out of in their lifetime.
We know the Bible said if there's someone naked and in need of clothing or in need of food or water, and you don't take care of that, then what good is that? Are you going to say, go, be blessed, naked and hungry and thirsty, and know there's a good God? How do you do that? How do you look at the poor? How do you look at the naked children going around with parasites and 6-year-olds the size of 3-year-olds? How do you go about preaching the gospel without showing them the gospel? It's so profound to us. It so changed us that we had to really deal with some issues within ourselves of what is valuable ministry.
Here in San Pedro Sula, we're surrounded by these really beautiful mountains. And that's kind of symbolic of the condition of these people. You know, they have this massive mountain that they can't climb on their own because they can't see a way up.
You know, the answer is not coming in and just doing medical brigades. The answer is not just coming in and giving out food and giving out clothes and giving out shoes. That's a momentary alleviation of the symptoms, but it's not attacking the sickness.
What has to change is their mindset, their core, their inner belief system, showing them that there is another world beyond their borders. The only way to get them out of this cycle of poverty is envision progress. You have to explain to them and show them a better way. The next thing is empowering people. Help them move the big obstacles and then encourage them to continue, encourage their genius. And then the last thing is if we can teach them to think and saying, you have a destiny, you have a purpose, you're not a reject, you're not forgotten, you're not worthless. You end poverty by changing their mindset. They don't think the way they used to think.
First thing that we began to tackle was feeding. We found a ministry that was feeding after Sunday school on Sunday morning. We expanded that project. Till now, it's 5 days a week, Tuesday through Friday and Sunday morning. So these children at extreme risk can come in and receive a good meal. We saw the educational needs. We didn't have a school. We didn't have the resources to build a building. We didn't have the resources to hire teachers and do all that. In a month and a half, we had the provision, we had the people, we had the place, we had all that we needed to do a school.
New Destiny School is a perfect example of what we've been talking about. They're taking the children out of their living conditions for the day, and they're envisioning progress into their life. They're empowering them with new information that they've never had the opportunity to get. And then they're encouraging their genius, encouraging them to dream beyond their borders. I've been working with the poor in many countries for the last 21 years. And so what I started doing is really seeking, how can I change this? You know, what can I do? I believe that I have an idea that is a possible solution to the problem that I see. One of the facets of the poor, what I've seen when I go into these places, they have very little food resources. They have malnutrition. I had this idea of a system like a food machine or a micro farm, a self-sustaining system. Aquaponics is a combination of aquaculture, or raising fish in a controlled environment, and hydroponics, which is raising vegetables and not using dirt.
So I said, well, I got the place for it. We've got an orphanage that, you know, they're industrious.
It's called House of Mercy. It's really awesome because it's up on the side of a mountain, has a nice view. Our aquaponics system is basically built right on the side of the mountain. It's really cool to see because it's kind of like a Garden of Eden kind of a thing. You know, it's something living right there, and they have responsibility for it. They're the caretakers. Just a few months ago, we finished the initial construction. I came down and connected the system, got it generating, got it recycling water, and we introduced some tilapia fish in the system for the first time. It was amazing just to see the look on these boys' faces when they have their own aquarium, so to speak, but it's actually food.
This is Walter and Rubin and Samuel, Angel and Carlos. These are my buddies. These are also fishermen and gardeners.
What was really fun about this was us working together.
Tienes que poner estos abajo aquí.
And I said, look, we need a couple of poles. Let's get some of the shade cloth. We need to put 2 kids in the tank. We need to put them in there. They need to hold it down and hold it up, and the 2 of them need to walk together and corral the fish in.
How many kids get to do this? I want to do this. Can I do this?
And then the other kids, they're standing over there with the net. As we corralled the fish in there, they dropped it, and then it caught the fish, and they pulled this fish, and that such a shout of joy as they're pulling these big old tilapia fish up out of there. That was a hoot.
Here we have some Rutgers tomatoes. We have beefsteak tomatoes. We have Anaheim peppers. All these are going in our new salsa garden over here in the system. They grow the seedlings here, then they put them in here. The water is underneath, and they touch the water. Once the seedlings have a root system about 3 inches, they put them in the rock. They pull the rock back, and you see there's water here, and then they plant them directly into the rock. Finish them just like this. This is some really nice basil. Great for cooking, obviously. It's ready to be harvested. Wow.
Now these boys are excited. They've got a project. They have purpose in it. They're caretakers of their own food machine, and not only just for themselves, but they're growing food that will feed others.
That's the way to catch the fish.
We're talking about 70 fish a day. We're talking enough vegetables. I mean, it's equal to about 2 acres of land. Now these kids are learning a market system. They're learning how to grow it, harvest it, produce it, and sell it. So these kids who are coming from being rejected, neglected, and abandoned to being driving force of leadership in their country and their community.
Buena pesca. Buena pesca. Buena pesca. Bueno.
The orphans that we've been working with at House of Mercy, they go to New Destiny, and so we went there to visit the orphans, and we saw the need in this school to feed these kids, and also the families that are in the school. That a lot of them are from the squatter area, some of them are orphans. What if we could build the same type of aquaponics system that would not only provide food, but also provide more of a higher level of education for these kids?
It doesn't look like much right now, but our plans is to make a living machine or a living lab to provide science and biology classes for the kids and a food source to feed all 300 kids. So you got 2 tanks running this way.
We have a person there that's going to teach the kids. They're going to teach them all these different aspects, moringa trees. They can learn how to harvest the trees, dry the leaves. I mean, it's just an entire adjunct onto our school that we can now broaden our curriculum from classroom now to actual hands-on learning.
First fruits, awesome fish. We're going to have lunch today.
The most exciting part is the change that comes about when they can see that they actually can do something themselves. We're teaching these children that come from abject poverty, systemic poverty in Honduras. They have no future. They have no hope. And we're going to show them a hope and a future.
With all that's happening, aquaponics, in the orphanage, in the schools, education, all the things that we're doing, see, we're opening up to a whole world of possibility.
What we're doing is promoting lasting change. We're changing the mindset of young children, and they can take this and become anything they want to be. They can learn to dream where there were no dreams.
See, without a dream, without a vision, without hope, there's no place to put faith, there's no place to go. See, you must have a destination.
We're getting them at an age where they are ready to receive change. they have an opportunity to step out of this poverty that they've been stuck in.
We are giving them a vision of the world in God, and now they can move forward and not just change their own lives. Listen, it's not just for them, it's for the rest of the world. Because if we can do it here in Honduras, we can do it anywhere.
What you've just seen is a preview of a full-length documentary that we're putting together for release on Building a Difference TV show. It's going to be hosted on over 20 networks around the world.
We have a great story. God's doing awesome things here. We're seeing kids' lives changed in many ways. What this is going to do for us, getting this story out, is going to be tremendous because people need to know it. So what we need is we need the funding to produce this documentary. It's going to be hours and hours of production. It's going to show stories, layers of the story. It's going to open up whole new parts of the world in this. And so we need the production funding.
And we invite you to get involved with us, to partner with us. It takes a lot of money to do a really good quality documentary. And we have this incredible opportunity with Building a Difference TV show.
And they're going to tell our story. They've got networks, they've got places. It's an open door for us. And we're just asking you, would you be able to help us to fund the production of this project? If you would, it would be the key for us reaching in and doing more schools, reaching more kids, feeding more people, doing more projects.
It's also about encouraging the genius of the viewers that will see this documentary, and then they can get involved, and together we can definitely make a difference in the world.